Hey guys, John here from Sonic Drive Studio. I hope you're all doing well and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here to show you this insane instrument by Schecter Guitars, the Hellraiser C6 Baritone. And before I tell you what's so insane and special about this guitar, let's take a listen to how it sounds through my ENGL Fireball 100. Check it out. Alright, that sounded absolutely awesome. This guitar is such a beast. So that was simply this guitar on the bridge pickup through the lead channel of my Fireball 100. The amp was being fed into my RedSeven Amplification Amp Central reactive load and then into an OwnHammer Rockbox IR from the V30 EN1990A IR pack, the modern cabinet on Mic Mix 03 to be precise. Massive tones indeed, and no pedals were used to create that tone. So it's just the pure sound of the guitar going into the amplifier, the reactive load, and the IR. But it's safe to say that the combination of this guitar into this amplifier sounds quite magnificent. But honestly, you just can't go wrong with an ENGL amplifier. So this guitar that I purchased recently, the Schecter Hellraiser C6 Baritone, what's so special about this guitar? Well, it's a baritone guitar, and that means that the scale length of the guitar is longer than on a standard guitar. Most Gibson guitars, for example, they have a scale length of 24.75 inches. Most Fender guitars have a scale length of 25.5 inches. And most baritone guitars have a scale length of 27 inches. So that's kind of the standard for a normal baritone guitar. Sometimes baritones have a slightly shorter scale length, so 26.5, and other times a bit longer, so say around 28 inches long or so. And this behemoth beast actually has a scale length of a whopping 30 inches long. And to be honest, that's quite a lot, especially for a 6-string baritone guitar. Now I have one other guitar in my collection that is 30 inches long, and that is my Schecter 9-string, so that's also a quite extreme instrument. And just as a visual comparison, here's an image of that Schecter 9-string, with this baritone next to it and also a standard scale 27-inch baritone next to it. So as you can see, the scale length of this Schecter is quite a bit longer. Now a long scale length like this really helps for lower tunings. So that's the whole idea behind a baritone guitar. So with a baritone guitar you can tune your guitar lower basically without having to put super thick strings on per se. And the notes and the strings will remain tight and clear, and the intonation and playability as well across the neck. So for lower tunings, a baritone guitar just sounds better and it will be more of a consistent instrument. It's just made for those lower tunings basically. So that's awesome. And with this 30-inch baritone, this extra long baritone, you can either go lower than you'd go with your standard baritone. So for example, if you're used to tuning your baritone to, let's say, B or B flat. With this one, you could go even lower and sort of get that same tightness. So some people like to tune these things super low, even as low as a 9-string, for example. So say C sharp or something like that. Or you could also keep this in your normal baritone tuning, so say B standard, but it will sound more tight and more clear. So the timbre will be different on this guitar than on a 27-inch baritone guitar in the same tuning, if you will. Now from the factory, this guitar came with super thick strings. A set that went from a thick 90 to a 24, and all the strings were wound. And it was tuned to E standard, but that's an octave below a usual E standard that you would find on a standard guitar. And with those strings and that tuning, it's kind of like a 6-string bass guitar, similar to the old Fender Bass 6. And you can use those guitars either as a sort of guitar or as a bass guitar. So it's kind of a hybrid between a bass guitar and a guitar actually. Now this guitar could be viewed as the modern rock or metal version of that old Fender Bass 6 design. So with new features and pickups and stuff like that are better suited for modern styles. Now for me, the stock strings were too thick and the tuning was too low, so I put a set of elixirs on here, a standard baritone set, but I did replace the 4th string, which usually is a plain 22, and I replaced that with a wound 24. And what I wanted to do with this guitar is tune it to drop F sharp. And that's the tuning that you did hear in the intro as well. So it's nice and low, but it still sounds very clear, crunchy, and punchy. And those elixir strings with that tuning on this guitar, just perfect for me. Now I also have 2 8-string guitars in my collection. One of them is tuned to F sharp standard and the other to F standard, if you will. So in terms of how low they go, it's quite similar. So the low notes, they sound quite similar as they are in the same pitch, basically. However, the drop tuning aspect is what makes it different, and also the fact that this guitar just has 6 strings. So it's a different playing experience, and playing on this guitar versus on an 8-string guitar, it inspires me and it invokes me to play different chord shapes and stuff like that. And with the drop tuning, I can also get some really cool voicings that are hard to get or maybe impossible to get on an 8-string guitar that is tuned to standard. Now I am going to talk about this guitar and the specs and all that good stuff in a minute. And I'm going to talk about how well this guitar has been built and stuff like that. But first, let's take another listen to how this guitar sounds, but this time through a plugin. IK Multimedia's Tonex plugin to be precise, with a tone model from one of my collections, the Heavy Legends Volume 2. That pack is available on ToneNet. And I'm using the PV65 amp on the lead channel for a nice modern high gain tone. And with that same OwnHammer Rockbox IR. Okay, let's check it out. Awesome, great tones for sure, and that sort of classic 6505 sound definitely also works really well with this guitar. So the ENGL was more bright and sort of scooped and pissed off sounding, and the 65 sound was a bit more mid-forward and sort of honky sounding, but it had a great bark to it. And now let's check out the specs of this guitar. In terms of looks, when it comes to Schecter, This guitar has nothing new, really. The black cherry Hellraiser look has been a staple for Schecter guitars for many, many years. But to be honest, it looks quite nice and fancy with the quilted maple top and the abalone binding and inlays. Maybe you hate it, maybe you love it, but I think for this guitar that it looks quite beautiful. And all the appointments are very well made. This guitar visually is absolutely flawless. The bodywood is mahogany, which I love, with a quilted maple top, and we have a 3-piece mahogany neck as well with carbon fiber reinforcement for those super thick strings and for all that tension. And we have a rosewood fretboard on here as well, beautiful and nice and smooth. And in terms of the wood, it's great. It's really resonant, and it is not a super light guitar. It's a little bit on the heavy side, but I do love that, especially for that low end chunk that it brings to the guitar. And this guitar has locking tuners, Schecter locking tuners, and it was made in South Korea. And we also have a Tone Pros bridge and tailpiece over here with these custom brass saddles. That's quite nice. And we also have a Graphtec nut and 24 extra jumbo frets. The neck has a thin C shape and it feels super comfortable to play. And the fret ends are also very smooth, very round and smooth, so the overall playing experience on this instrument is really good. It's an impressive instrument for sure, and I mean the frets are very nicely leveled so you can get low action and all that good stuff. Now this neck feels absolutely huge. I mean that is kind of the point, but if you're a small person, maybe this is a bit too big, but it's not too big for me. I like it. It just feels massive in the hands, and if it sounds massive too, it's just very rewarding to play. In terms of electronics, we have 2 active pickups in here, an EMG 81TW in the bridge and an EMG 89R in the neck. And as you heard in the sound clip so far, they sound really nice, especially this bridge pickup for heavy stuff. Now both pickups have split options, so you can split the coils with these push-pull controls over here, and especially for the neck pickup, it means you can get some really nice clean tones. So we're going to try that right now with the neck pickup with the split setting through my Fractal Audio FM3 Mark II Turbo with a simple preset, just a compressor going into a Bassman amplifier and then going into a cabinet. I'm using an OwnHammer Rockbox cabinet in the cab block once again, the same cabinet and the same mic mix, but this time the V30 MV2001A speaker option. So that's the Marshall vintage speaker. And with some very nice reverb after the cab block. Okay, let's take a listen. Absolutely beautiful and definitely unique tones. Love the clean tones on this guitar. So what do I think of this guitar? Well, I absolutely love this thing. I mean, it looks gorgeous, plays really well, and it sounds amazing too. And it's just a unique instrument. It really inspires me to write new music and to try different things. So if you're in the market for a baritone guitar that's a little bit different, with a longer scale suited for even lower tunings perhaps, then this guitar might be for you. The Schecter Hellraiser C6 Baritone. Yeah, I absolutely love this monster. Amazing guitar. That's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and that you found it useful. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like and subscribe down below, as it really helps the channel out. I'd really appreciate it. And you can also follow Sonic Drive Studio on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Cheers!